All right, everybody, big news coming out of the NFL owners meeting as the competition committee has passed a 1-year change. So for the next 2024 season, this new NFL kickoff rule, and it's based on what the XFL have been doing. I know the XFL and USFL have merged, but the XFL started off testing this new version of the kickoff, and it looks like the NFL is basing it directly on that. So let's get right into the rule book. This is from the NFL's own website. As you can see, NFL football operations in the upper left. This is where all the rules for the game are. And this is the update that was given 2 hours ago. So the competition committee has passed for 1 year changes to the kickoff play. Now you'll notice that it says A and B. Team A is the kickoff team. Team B is the receiving team. So first things first, there's no change to where the ball is kicked off from. The ball will be kicked from the kicking team's 35-yard line. That's the same as it currently is. Safety kicks, that's if you give up a safety, you then have to kick the ball. That will be from the 20-yard line. Same. So it does not change at all where the ball is kicked off from. Okay. We're going to go into alignment. The alignment in this rule is a bit different than the XFL. I have a clip of the XFL running it, so you'll see exactly what it is, but there's a little bit of difference here. So let's go ahead and get into it. So all remaining kicking team players, besides the kicker, they will line up with 1 foot on the receiving team's 40-yard line. Okay, so they have to have a foot on that 40-yard line. The kicker cannot cross the 50-yard line until the ball touches the ground or player in the landing zone or in the end zone. Okay, so once the kicker kicks it, he can't just run past the 50-yard line. He's got to wait till the ball's either caught, whether the ball lands in the target zone or in the end zone. Okay, the 10 kicking team players cannot move until the ball hits the ground or the player in the landing zone or the end zone. Okay, so sorry, I said target zone. It's the landing zone. That's the, and we'll get into what the landing zone is here in just a second. So that's important to note. The 10 players that are lined up on the 40-yard line, they cannot move. Okay, they can't start going forward until the ball is either caught in the landing zone, the ball lands on the ground, or it goes out of the into the end zone. And this is very specific. Okay, so they can't really get going now. I don't know. It doesn't say here in the XFL. There was the rule that if the ball landed, you had to wait 3 seconds for it to be on the ground before you could go. Basically, the ref would drop their hand if that happened. I don't know if that's going to be the case here. It's not really specified in this proposal, so I don't know if that's the case. Maybe it's just if the ball lands, boom, you can go. There's no waiting like there was in the XFL. The receiving team, they're going to line up as follows. There is a setup zone, okay? So this is a 5-yard area from the receiving team's 35-yard line to the receiving team's 30-yard line, where at least 9 receiving team players must line up. When I show the clip from the XFL, you're going to see that there's 10 players lined up, and then the returner, the one returner. This is a bit different. You have 9 players. They have to stay within that 5-yard, basically, setup zone. Now, it's important to note right here, at least 7 players with the foot on the receiving team's 35-yard line. So 7 of the players have to have their foot on the 35-yard line. You can have 2 players kind of hanging back within that 5-yard setup zone. But, okay, the players not on the restraining line must be lined up in setup zone outside the hash mark. So they can't be, you can't put 2 of them inside the hash marks. They have to be outside the hash marks. That's very specific. Now, if you notice, it says at least 7 players with foot on the 35-yard line, restraining line with alignment requirements, outside numbers, numbers to hashes, and inside hashes. There's no specification in the XFL. There was like, you can only have like 3, 3, 3. 3 here, 3 here, 3 here, 3 outside the hashes, 3 outside the hashes here on either side of the ball. Those were the rules. Like you could have 4 inside the hashes, I think, as is the rule. Or you had, it's very specific. You'll see when we see the clip. It's a little bit different than what's being proposed here. So, all players in the setup zone, however, cannot move until the kick has hit the ground or a player in the landing zone or the end zone. So, if I'm going to be coaching this, I would not have my players be looking back. Maybe they'd be sideways with their foot. They're kind of seeing out of their eye. I just wait till the defensive players go, till the kicking team players go, because I don't know that I really want my player trying to look, oh, okay, now I can go, right? You want to keep eyes on who you're blocking, but That's the rule. They can't move until the kick has hit the ground or a player in the landing zone has caught it or the end zone. So same as for the kicking team. This is where it is different, I think, as well for from the XFL. A maximum of 2 returners may line up in the landing zone and can move at any time prior to or during the kick. So they are free to roam around inside the landing zone. Now, you might see a lot more teams with those two trying to run some tricks. You might see some tricks, and this is what you're going to see in the XFL clip, tricks with someone who's just in the setup zone that doesn't have their foot on the 35-yard line. Okay? So this is opening up some possibilities that maybe haven't been done before. So the landing zone. What is the landing zone? The landing zone is the area between the receiving team's goal line and its 20-yard line. Any kick that hits short of the landing zone is treated like a kickoff out of bounds, and the ball is spotted at the receiving team's 40-yard line. I think in the XFL, it was like at the kickoff team's 45-yard line. So this is different. Obviously, not as punishing, but still big deal. So the play would be blown dead as soon as the kick lands short of the landing zone. So if the ball lands at the 21-yard line of the kick return team, that is basically blown dead. You're going to put the ball at the 40-yard line. So it's very important that the kickers kick the ball into the landing zone here. Any kick that hits in the landing zone must be returned, okay? So if it lands in the landing zone, there's no more the waving of the fair catch and the ball comes out. If it's hitting in the landing zone, you got to return it, okay? Whether it hits the ground or you catch it. Any kick that hits in the landing zone and then goes into the end zone must be returned or downed by the receiving team. If it's downed, then the touchback goes to the receiving team's 20-yard line. So what does that mean? Well, that means that if the ball hits, let's say, on the 1-yard line and then goes into the end zone, you either have to return it or down it. So if you down it, it goes out to the 20-yard line, you can risk it. That's the rule, okay? Let's say that the kick hits in the end zone, stays in bounds, returned or downed. If downed, then the touchback is to the 30-yard line. So kickers should not be kicking it to the end zone because you do not want that to go out to the 30-yard line, right? It used to be the 25-yard line. Now it's going to be the 30-yard line if the ball goes directly to the end zone. This is important to note. It's not if the ball bounces and then goes into the end zone that's going to be the way it goes. It's if it goes straight into the end zone from the kick itself, okay? If it stays in bounds, it doesn't go out of bounds. Any kick that goes out of bounds of the back of the end zone in the air or bounces, it's a touchback to the 30-yard line. So either way, in that case, let's say that the team just decides to down it if the ball goes straight into the end zone, it's going to go out to the 30-yard line, okay? If it goes out of the back of the end zone, it's to the 30-yard line. So there's no change in that. Now, if the ball hits in the end zone, the kick returner has to decide whether they want to return it or just down it. I would probably just have my team down it at that point, okay? So that's the difference right there. So again, remember, if the ball does not hit the landing zone, it goes out to the 40-yard line. It doesn't specify here if the ball goes out of bounds. Let's say it hits in the landing zone and then goes out of bounds. But they might be adopting what the XFL did, which is the same thing, which is if the ball went out of bounds, it went out to the 40-yard line. It goes out to the 40-yard line. So I didn't see anything like that. But as you can see, do not want to hit short of the landing zone itself. You want to make them return the ball, okay? So, miscellaneous. There's no fair catch or signal allowed, all right? The officials will blow the play dead. So you can't go, raise your hand up and make the catch if you're, say, on the 19-yard line making the catch. You have to return it. If it hits inside that landing zone, you got to return it. There's no fair catch. If conditions cause ball to fall off tee twice, then kicker will be allowed to use kicking stick to keep the ball in place. Okay, so remember, usually if the ball has fallen off, you've had to have somebody holding the ball. You've had a member of the kicking team put their finger and then they hold the ball up. Because every kicking team member has to be on the 40-yard line, that's not going to be possible. So then they can bring out this kicking stick that holds up. This is what kickers use during practice to help hold the ball up for PATs and things like that. That's what they're going to be able to use there. Okay. The closest covering official will pick up the stick immediately after the kick. So that's how that's going to be worked. Onside kick. Fourth quarter begins. The team trailing has the opportunity to declare an onside kick to the official. So you have to declare. The current onside kickoff rules would apply if onside kick goes beyond the setup zone untouched. Kicking team penalized for UNS, I don't know what that means. Return team will start the drive at the kickoff team's 20-yard line. Oh, ooh, that's a big one. Okay, so current onside kickoff rules would apply. If it goes beyond the setup zone untouched, they would be penalized. Wow. Okay, so that's a big one right there. Okay, so you got to be careful with these onside kicks. They're trying to kind of do some things, and I think they're going to adjust some of the alignment as well on these onside kickoffs as well, to give the teams that are attempting the onside kicks a chance to recover the ball. Penalties. The setup zone and landing zone will not change with any penalties that carry over to kickoffs. Alignment of 10 kickoff team players and all receiving team players will not change. Only the spot of the kick would move. And penalties on scoring plays will not carry over and will be taken on the try. So you can't go, in the past, how you used to be able to say, personal foul. They're going to enforce it on the kickoff, so that way you move up your kickoff team and basically touchback no matter what. That is not going to happen. It's always going to be enforced on the try, because you used to be able to say, well, we'll do it on the PAT. No, let's do it on the kickoff. That is changed. This is changed right here. As you can see, this is pretty big. Okay, so penalties on scoring plays will not carry over. The setup zone and landing zone will not change. It's just where the kick is occurring. So now, if you've moved that kicker back, you are going to have to boom this ball. Safety kick. The kick will be from the 20-yard line, and the kicker will have the option to use a tee. The setup zone and the landing zone will not change, like I said. And approval rulings. The special teams working group will continue to work with the officiating department to examine any necessary approved rulings and or additional language that may be necessary to support this new rule. This language will be vetted with the club, circulated for comment to all the clubs, and finalized by the May meeting for the membership. So some of the additional rules and additional things, like I said right here, remember, we don't know. It says at least 7 players with the foot on the 35-yard line. We don't know with the alignment requirements. That's stuff that's going to be ironed out. And then when we get the full rules, we'll come back and look at this play. But that is how this is going to work out. I'm going to go switch over to a clip of the video itself, of the XFL team running it, so you can kind of have an idea of how it's supposed to work. Let's go to that right now. All right, so here is the clip that we're going to use from the XFL. I believe it's the first time that someone scored a touchdown with the new kickoff in the XFL. It's a kickoff return for a touchdown. And you can see right here with the end zone view that the kicker is actually on the 30-yard line in the XFL. Remember, in the NFL, we're going to stay with our old kickoff lines, 35-yard line, or unless you're kicking off because of a safety, the 20-yard line. So that's a difference. Let's go ahead and forward that. And we're going to stop right there. So as you can see as well, notice that the kick return team is on the 30-yard line in the XFL, and the kickoff team is on the kick return team's 35-yard line. That's going to be different. In the NFL, all 10 players of the kickoff team are going to have a foot on the 40-yard line, and then the setup zone is actually the 35-yard line, and you're going to have 7 players as the kick return team in the setup zone, and you can have 2 players outside the hash still inside the setup zone. So you can have 7 on the line, and you could have a guy standing back here and a guy standing back here, as long as they're staying within the setup zone. Okay, so that's important to note with that. This is the landing zone from the goal line to the 20-yard line. So the ball needs to hit inside here if you're a kicker to have the best chance of the ball not coming out to the 30-yard line or to the 40-yard line. If the ball lands right here, let's say the ball's going to land, kick returner just like, I'm going to let it land. Does not matter, right? It doesn't matter if that ball lands right there. It's so close to the landing zone. If it lands there, play's called dead. Ball comes out to the 40-yard line. Okay? So it's important to note, ball has to land in the landing zone. If it lands in the landing zone, it has to be returned. So if you're wanting to make sure that they return it, you got to kick it into the landing zone no matter what. I don't know. Again, they didn't have it in the rules. If the ball lands here and then goes out of bounds, what does that mean? Does it mean that it comes out to the 40-yard line, or does it go out to the 30-yard line? It really wasn't in the rules per se. I think that's what's going to probably happen, but I'm not sure. Okay. If the ball lands in the end zone, right, and the returner just kneels it, just says, I'm going to down it. comes out to the 30-yard line for the kick return team. If the ball bounces and then goes into the end zone and then gets down, so let's say it lands and bounces and then gets down, it comes out to the 20-yard line, okay? Because it landed in the landing zone. So notice as well, in the XFL, they only have one returner. I believe that was the rule, so all 10 were up on the line as well. So we do have a little bit of difference. Remember, with the NFL, you can have 2 returners. So you might see some interesting formations that teams are going to use just based on what the rules are compared to what the XFL was. So I'm just going to run the play so you guys can see. Here's the kicker. Kick return is going to catch it. Players go. All right. Now they're going to run a reverse. And notice everybody kind of came up for the kickoff team, kind of got out of position, super aggressive, and it's going to end up being a touchdown. Don't love that the one player, 35, is not really looking around. He's kind of just looking at his teammate. Gotta be looking around, make sure no one's coming across. So let's go back so you can see it in action again. Right, ball's kicked. We got the kicker back here. Notice he's way back there still. Can't go past a certain distance, right, until the ball's caught. So he kind of is out of the screen. Only person that can move in the move pre-kick is the returners. Returner or returners. Again, if team decides to go with 2 returners. And it's going to be very interesting. Apparently not many major injuries. The reason they're making this rule change is because they don't want players going full speed at each other down the line, down the field, running full speed. You got players normally in kickoff, you'd have to drop back, find a guy and then run at him full speed to make that block, things like that. So that's why they're making this change. I'll be curious to see how it goes, if it provides any excitement. It's going to be a different thing also for kickers because remember, kicking it out of the end zone actually makes the ball come out further than it used to under the old rules. So you're really trying to land it and kind of probably trying to land it inside the 5 to make it be as far as possible for these kick returners to return the ball. No more fair catch, none of that. That's going to be fun. So again, just wanted to go over this, show you guys an example. Remember, landing zone right here. That's the target zone if you're a kicker. So I'm curious to see how this plays out. Again, if this works out, I believe it will be the thing going forward that will be done in the NFL. And we'll see how it goes. Hopefully this informed you guys a little bit more about the new kickoff rule, how it works, gives you an idea of what it looks like. And let me know your thoughts down below. Do you love the idea of this rule? Do you hate the idea of this rule? I'm curious to see what people think. If you're enjoying this type of content, please make sure to subscribe. We're going to be doing a lot of breakdown videos of different things. I might go over some of the UFL as well, what the UFL is doing, because they have some rules that I'm sure the NFL is looking at as well. But thanks for your time. I appreciate y'all. We'll see you next time. Have a great rest of the day. I want to give a shout out to all of our booster members that are supporting the channel. If you wish to have your name in a video just like this, please make sure to join at the link down below at the booster member or above. On the next screen, there will be another recommended video. It'll be a breakdown video, most likely. Check it out. See what you think of it. Some of them might be commentary, but most of my videos are breakdowns. We'll see you later, though, and have a good one.